Hello guys, welcome to your own YouTube channel English with Teacher Shiv. And in this video we are going to talk about the conversation which I had with one of proficient grammar teacher, and she has given the answer of all your grammar questions, and moreover she has given the answer of the questions related to pronunciation, vocabulary, how can you gain your confidence, how can you remove your hesitations and all this stuff. So watch this video till end without skipping a single step. And those who are new to this channel, please do subscribe. So let's get started with this video. Okay, ma'am. So my first question is very simple question. Everyone wants to get answer of this question. Like, how did you get this fluency? How did you learn English? What are the tips and tricks you have for a learner, for a beginner?
Well, as a student, I believe that I always had the love for the language. The first thing that you actually need to learn any language, to have love for it, apart from your mother tongue. Mother tongue, you automatically grasp, right? But English, I always loved reading a lot of magazines, books. But then reading is something else, but speaking is a different challenge altogether. So I had a good vocabulary and all the knowledge of grammar, good grammar, strong grammar base. But then speaking, when it came to speaking, I felt that I have more of, bookish language. So that came more from learning by listening to more of colloquial language that comes from the by listening to podcasts, watching a lot of movies, Netflix. So when the OTT came in India, so it was actually a great relief to get so much content in English. So that is how I developed my fluency.
Okay, so very good evening, ma'am. How are you doing today?
Good evening, Shiv. I'm doing really good. And how are you?
Yeah, safe and sound, doing great in my life. Thanks for your concern.
So, all right. So finally we are connecting. So
Yes, ma'am. Finally, we are connecting. We have been trying for long, and just because of sometimes technical issues, sometimes network issues, we are not able to connect with each other. But today that day come, and now we are
mhm.
talking to each other. So as you are new to my channel as well as to my viewers, I want you to give your brief introduction so the people who are watching this video, they are going to know about you, like what exactly you do in your channel and your life, in your professional and personal and academic life.
Okay, I am Mandeep and I run a YouTube channel in the name of Fluency Goals. And I have started this channel just 6 to 8 months back. And what is the purpose of the channel? I will brief you on that. The purpose of the channel is to build fluency for my learners. So I provide various videos from intermediate to advanced level, and I provide the basic grammar sessions also. But more focus is on developing fluency with the functional use of grammar. And in future, I see my channel expanding as helping the students learn IELTS and enable them to prepare for IELTS exams for business communication. I have a few playlists on that, but I see myself working more on that. And all my life, as I can recall, I have been an educationist and I have taught in reputed schools in Chandigarh and in Delhi. Currently, also, I'm working in a reputed school in Delhi. And I have had all my education from India, Punjab, and that is all about me on professional front. Anything that you would like to ask me?
No, ma'am. It seems true that I'm listening to a podcaster who is being telling every single thing, and it's really great to hear everything about yourself. So I do have some questions for you. So shall I ask question to you?
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, ma'am. So my first question is very simple question. Everyone wants to get answer of this question. Like, how did you get this fluency? How did you learn English? What are the tips and tricks you have for a learner, for a beginner?
Well, as a student, I believe that I always had the love for the language. The first thing that you actually need to learn any language to have love for it, apart from your mother tongue. Mother tongue you automatically grasp, right? But English, I always loved reading a lot of magazines, books. But then reading is something else, but speaking is a different challenge altogether. So I had a good vocabulary and all the knowledge of grammar, good grammar, strong grammar base. But then speaking, when it came to speaking, I felt that I have more of, bookish language. So that came more from learning by listening to more of colloquial language that comes from the by listening to podcasts, watching a lot of movies, Netflix. So when the OTT came in India, so it was actually a great relief to get so much content in English. So that is how I developed my fluency. And I think I was quite fluent at the age of 18, 20 to say, and I'm still learning.
It means, in a nutshell, I would say that you haven't forced yourself to learn English. You have learned this language in a very organic way, in a natural way. Am I
Yes, I
right?
have. Right.
Wow, you are so blessed with those kind of natural supreme power and qualities you have acquainted with. That's great.
Not
And
supreme powers.
uh,
I believe the native speakers actually they have that, they are surrounded completely by the language and they have it in their environment where they don't even have to think for a moment before speaking. But we as a second language learners have to get there and a lot by reading and by stressing ourselves, pushing ourselves into developing that environment around us. No?
true, ma'am. In fact, I have talked with many native speakers. I didn't find that they are using any grammar rules when they are speaking English. I don't know how they speak, but
Mm.
still, in my case, I'm a bit conscious about grammar. Like, shall I use have, has, and I've seen so many times with all other co-learners like me.
Well, the
So,
answer
my
is
second question
actually
for
very
you is,
simple. I'm really sorry to
yeah,
interrupt, but the answer to your question lies in how did you learn your native language? And do you use any grammar in that?
no, I don't.
That is by the assimilation from your environment only, no? The native speakers, they have learned it in a natural way. So that is why they are not focused on grammar. So it comes naturally to them, which tends to use at what place. So the answer lies there.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so
now.
it means you want to say like we should not focus on grammar when it comes to spoken English. Rather, we should
We,
focus on our
hmm,
flow and fluency.
yes, we should try to learn it in a very natural manner by assimilating the structures from more of listening and reading. So when you listen and read, you automatically start getting the structures of the sentences, grammar patterns, which prepositions to use with which words. So in a natural, organic way, if you expose yourself completely to the language, you automatically start learning it. So that is the functional, the basic grammar that you require to speak. So that automatically will come to you if you expose yourself completely to the language. You won't have to put too much effort into it. That deep effort is required when you want to write professionally, when you want to become a writer, or for writing like emails in business, for writing parts, there you need to focus on the vocabulary, your spelling, especially while speaking. You do not need spellings, right? Spellings
Yeah.
and grammar structures, you need to achieve them perfectly for writing, I would say.
Wow, that's really amazing fact about this language I'm not aware of. Thanks for enlightening me this hidden fact. Moreover, since I started interacting with you, I'm not sure, but I'm getting a different vibes. The way you pronounce the words was entirely different from the way Indian speakers pronounce. I meant to say your accent is a bit, not completely, but a bit different from a normal Indian speakers. How did you get this accent, and what do you think? Which one is more important, accent or pronunciation, and why?
First, I would like to answer your first question that your accent is different. Well, I do not believe that my accent is different. It's just that I have neutralized my accent. By neutralizing the accent, I mean that often, mother tongue influence comes when we speak any second language. That mother tongue influence is there. And I too had a very high mother tongue influence. In fact, I remember when I moved to Delhi, sorry, when I moved to Delhi, I started applying in various schools for the job of an English language teacher, and I was rejected by 18 schools because I had a Punjabi accent. So that was a big setback, and I realized I started working on reducing the mother tongue influence. Now, why did that accent come first of all? Because I learned English as a second language. Then, second, I did not have that wider exposure to the native speakers listening to the native speakers. As I mentioned earlier, once the OTT came in India, we had more exposure to English movies, listening to native English speakers, listening to podcasts. That automatically I started realizing by focusing on various words, okay, this is where I speak it wrong. If you take even the simpler words like go, home, I have literally searched for their pronunciation on Google and tried to speak them. We all speak from the very beginning, no? Go, home, and these, but I focused more on vowel. Vowel sounds are very important. Vowel sounds or vowel sounds, as we understand. So in go, you have a vowel O. So you simply, if you shorten it, you say go. Go gives it a very Indian accent. But if you lengthen it, if you pronounce it right, it comes as go, go, home. So you have to focus more on your vowel sounds and reduce your MTI. So that is how it goes. And second question, whether the pronunciation is more important or accent. Well, pronunciation, obviously, it is more important because that comes under how you stress on different syllables of a word, and that stress completely can change the way the listener understands your words. So pronunciation is very important. Accent, always it is related to your region and your mother tongue.
Wow, the way you are pronouncing those words and telling me that this is the right way to pronounce this word, but I was feeling like I'm not talking to a trainer or teacher. I'm just talking to a linguistic who has done mastery in linguistic and who has a very profound knowledge of phonetic and phonemes. And I hope you heard about these days, even in smart schools, teachers are teaching phonetic sound first to kids, and then they are teaching grammar and all those things. So that's really that very good point you have mentioned about pronunciation. And you said like we need to emphasize on our pronunciation first, then we can think about accent. Accent comes later. And
Right.
one more thing I have noticed in your spoken English, you speak very simple English. I didn't find any like fancy and sophisticated lexicons in your spoken English. So, but still, I'm a bit curious if anyone wants to enhance his vocabularies so that
Mm-hmm.
he would able to express his thoughts in such amazing and effective way. What do you think? What do you prefer to enhance for enhancements of vocabs?
Well, one thing, we need to understand the purpose of a language, first of all. What is the purpose of language? The purpose of the language is communication. Is it ostentation? So there you get lexical use, ostentation. Now, is it being bombastic, being a show off, ostentation, or the purpose is just to communicate, let the listener understand you? There, I believe the main purpose is that your listener should understand your thoughts completely, fully. That is the first purpose of language. And if I'm able to fulfill that, then my task is achieved. And another thing is vocabulary. Of course, vocabulary, we have to put in, we have a lot of passive vocabulary, right? That we assimilate every single day. But then the challenge comes in turning that passive vocabulary into active usage, active vocabulary, and to use it in active skills, like the active skills of speaking and active skill of writing. And in writing, you still get time to process your thoughts, but in speaking, it is just quick. So you have to immediately process and speak. So it is the most active skill in any language. And the challenge comes in using all the learned vocabulary there.
To I do agree with you, ma'am. And this time you hit nail on the head. Thanks. And one thing that I have been noticing since we started interacting that you are not even thinking much. For example, in my case, what shall I ask and what should I speak? I'm thinking, I'm just calculating thoughts in my mind. But in your case, thoughts are coming spontaneously, automatically, and you are speaking so smoothly. So here the question arises how one can become good in content creation, generating different ideas, and talk about any topic in such a effective and very magnificent way.
Uh, One question here by content creation. Do you mean the content creation for like writing or for YouTube? I don't understand. So you're
Content
asking
creation
as a
simply
learner?
means
Hmm.
learner, like
As a
whatever
learner,
question
right?
is being asked by him
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
him, so that he would able to answer those questions. So how he can
All
generate
right.
those ideas. Yeah.
Okay. One thing I'd like to point out here, you are not thinking much. You are as fluent as I am. You are quite fluent in your speaking. And now coming to your question about the learners who are unable to, speak spontaneously on any given topic and they have to put in a lot of thought. Number one thing is that hampers the fluency of a learner is they are learning by direct translation method. By the translation method, that is completely redundant method. And in fact, I would advise any learners who are learning, mugging up the sentences. I have seen so many YouTube channels, that run इसको हिंदी हिंदी में सेंटेंस है इसको हम अंग्रेजी में ऐसे बोलेंगे. But I believe that is not the way to learn English language, because when speaking, you do not have so much time to, completely keep translating in your head. And literal translation isn't even possible. So the foremost thing that we need to work on in order to build fluency is to start thinking here in English, in our head. So our thoughts should come in English first, right? So that is important. And there are many ways to build that. There are many activities, exercises that you can do. One thing that I advise all the learners is first that fall in love with reading, become a voracious reader. Read, 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 because the more you read, the more you will be able to think in English. You will know the structure, sentence structures, your grammar, everything will automatically improve. One, read, one, listen. So listening improves your pronunciation as you listen. Reading improves your language structures and your vocabulary. And now, when you listen, you can employ the technique of shadowing. The technique of shadowing, it helps you. First of all, let me explain what is shadowing. When you listen to any speaker speaking, you repeat their sentences, the words as it is. You play a movie, you hear a dialogue, you pause it, try to repeat, and you mimic the stress, the tone, the intonation, the try even mimicking the accent. So that is important. So that is why if some, young learners, they learn language from a native speaker, they automatically get that accent. They built that accent from whom they started learning the language. So shadowing technique is going to help you in your pronunciation and in speech. Now, then comes your technique of mirror talk. Mirror talk, talking to yourself in the mirror every day, describing what you did in a day, how the day went, what were you expecting, and how you want it to go the next day. Then comes your extempore practice. Extempore is when you speak on any given topic unprepared, you don't even know what topic. Now, if you do not have a partner, how could you practice extempore? I suggest my learners that they build some, write some topics on chits, like 30, 40 chits, put them in a jar. So, and every time they are trying to practice extempore, pull out one chit so they themselves don't know what topic is going to come to them. So try to record yourself, speak for a minute, try to record yourself, and then listen to it where you committed the mistake, where are you fumbling, and that helps. So by practicing more of speech and by putting your thoughts into words spontaneously, you'll start building fluency slowly.
Well, I myself was thinking like, what shall I do? Because I'm so lazy about reading, and honestly speaking, I don't love reading more often. But as you have suggested, so I think I should start from today onwards, I
You
guess.
know what? You can
Uh,
start reading sports magazines or anything that you like. It's not always that you need to read the books only. Movie reviews, that
no,
also
the
helps.
problem is as soon as I will start reading books, now I start feeling sleepy. My eyes are saying that shift.
Hmm.
This is something which is not your cup of
Right.
tea, so forget about it and go for something else. Okay, so my next question for you is there are many co-learners and beginners. They have been struggling with English and they are not that much confidence in terms of spoken English. They have a phobia of making mistakes, phobia of being judged by others, criticism, insult, and that's everything. What kind of message you want to give them so that they would be keep motivated themselves in order to learn this language?
Mhm. Well, my first piece of advice to them will be do not focus on the grammar that you are speaking while speaking. Remember your first purpose of language, that is to communicate. Most of new learners, they commit this mistake that they start thinking in their head, shall I use present perfect tense? Shall I use past tense or this or that? So in that challenge, they lose their fluency and the awkward moments start coming and then the confidence also falls down. And one is this. Another thing is language speaking is like swimming only. You watch a lot of YouTube videos on how to swim, and you think I have learned to swim until you jump in the water and you practice it. So you cannot do it unless you practice it. So you have to engage in more and more speaking in order to develop that fluency, develop that confidence in you. Once you get into the habit of speaking spontaneously, that confidence also comes. And another thing that you don't we don't speak as much. So for that immediate effect, from the immediate effect, I would advise the learners to start reading aloud. First of all, make your tongue habitual to speak the language. That is important. We often forget that speaking is also a motor skill, that we have to train our tongue also to speak another language, to say the words effortlessly. So reading aloud, remember in school we used to read aloud, and for 15 minutes or even 10 minutes is sufficient. Read aloud, listen to yourself speaking the words. That is also important. You automatically start developing that confidence once you practice enough.
Well, that's a really great concept you have shared with us. Thanks. And one thing comes in my mind that there are many learners, they are keep listening to many teachers that think in English. In fact, you also have mentioned in your explanation in
Mhm.
initial stage of transition that we need to think in English. We don't need to follow the traditional and conventional method of translation. All right.
Right.
So here the question comes, how one can develop the habit of thinking English.
So, one thing is whether you are a beginner, like A1 level learner or B1, B2 level learner. And of course, if you are C1, C2, you don't need to listen to any teacher, right? Okay. So, at the very basic grassroots level, sometimes, translation method helps you in relating the words. But then it is only at the A1 level when you are learning, okay, play means khelna, this kind of level where you do not even know the verbs. So there it can help you. And now consider how a school child learns English language. So they learn one thing is these days, even I am working in a school, I come across children of all age groups, and I meet children of nursery, prep, and first standard. They are also very fluent in English, the kind of families that they come from. So that is because they have an environment which exposes them to the language. So now, for a learner who is learning and they don't want to learn by the translation method, which is redundant, the foremost thing that they need to do, take the responsibility of creating that environment for themselves. How do you do that? You do that by even if you are watching any movie, do not watch Hindi movies. I do not say completely, just for your entertainment. You can sometimes, but watch more of English content. Listen to the podcast. Podcast now, beauty of podcast is especially the conversational ones where two people or three people are conversing. You get to hear a lot of colloquial language and that you cannot grasp from any books, believe me. If you read and study, you cannot grasp it. You can grasp it only by listening to people talking. Okay, they respond in this manner to question. If it is asked this way, this is the manner of response. And what is the tone, intonation that needs to be there? So instead of learning by indirect method, I would suggest that you expose yourself to the language and read from your age of language learning. By age, I do not mean like if you are 30, you read the big novels and all. What is your age of language learning? Are you an A1, A2 learner? So special books are available for those learners, and B1 level learning books are different. So as you grow on, you know, reading, you keep stepping up your reading age. So that also helps. So that is all my take on learning by direct method.
Oh, these are some amazing techniques, and I would say that I've talked with many professional speakers, but I haven't get these kind of very unique and different ideas. Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks for acknowledging it. And my next question goes for you is, what do you think? Like, what is the definition of fluency? I mean to say, to whom you will consider like he or she is a fluent speaker or not? What are the qualities to being a fluent
Mhm.
speaker?
One number one thing is that you are able to convey your thoughts, put your thoughts into words and in an exact manner that you want the other person to understand. It's not, some people are able to say what they want to say in the words, but then the other person tends to get some other meaning out of it. So, what you want your listener to understand, are you able to convey your thoughts in that manner? Now, in fluency, the language, the use of words, the sentences, the tenses, everything will come, right? When you're conveying your words. But then I would add your body language, your facial expressions also, because those also cover a big role in conveying what you mean, what you want to say, right? So that is there. Another thing is, how much are you fumbling while speaking? So many people, they fumble while speaking, and they also start stuttering, stammering, and they use filler words. So using a lot of filler words also hampers fluency. And then being able to speak continuously over a period of time and spontaneously with whatever thought you have in your mind, being able to structure your thoughts well in a cohesive way, I would consider that good fluency.
Wow, that's a very great definition as given by you. And now this is my last question for you. I want you to just imagine yourself that you are a motivational speaker like it's Sandeep Maheshwari, and
God,
you
I
have
can't.
to you have to motivate all beginners, co-learners, freshers, and my viewers as well that how they can get a spark, how they can get that ignition, how they can trigger themselves in order to enjoy the process of learning, keeping patience, avoiding procrastination, and keeping all the time motivated themselves in order to master this language. So that's what I want. I just want you to speak for only for 2 or 3 minutes and just whatever you have in mind.
Well, first of all, motivational speaker I am not, but still, as an educator, I often motivate my students in class to keep on learning. So I would try to do that here with the learners. Okay, one thing, do not let anybody, anything hamper your learning. There is no age for learning. If you think you are too old or you haven't had that environment from the beginning to learn something new, that is not the case. So there is no age for learning. And if you cannot take the lift to learning, like we say, do not, if you can't take the lift to success, take the stairs. So learn, take each step to achieve a small goal every single day and appreciate yourself on the goal that you achieve. So provide yourself with the task. No, I have to read a page today. I have to write a few lines today. And slowly you build on your learning every single day, right? So do not set very high goals immediately and expect yourself to reach there. Set short goals, everyday goals, and try to achieve all those goals, and slowly you will reach there. And don't be afraid that people are judging you. Your number one purpose is to communicate with people. You are not here taking any exam where you have to be perfect in your grammar, in your vocabulary. You have to you have to learn to able to say, communicate your thoughts to the other person, and your number one challenge should be able to achieve that. Maybe today you are fumbling, today you are using too many filler words, but recognition of your mistakes is the foremost thing. If you're able to recognize your mistake and you are willing to work on those mistakes little by little every single day, you are definitely going to achieve your target. So I think that is enough for motivation, isn't it?
Yeah, ma'am, you are. I'm just thinking there should be a machine, there should be a basic criteria and measurement that which can easily measure the motivation level. If it is so I would able to tell you that how I'm feeling quite motivated by listening your words and statement, and it means me a lot. Thank you, ma'am. And you have that potential that you can just, or you can just produce a fire in someone's heart and soul that he would deliberately start learning a language. So here I'm done with my all bombardment of questions. So thank you, ma'am. The way you have answered my all question, it was really stupendous and fantabulous. Being mesmerized and fascinated, and I
You
was
were.
just enjoying the whole conversation. So thanks, ma'am.
Well, it was a pleasure on my part. It was a pleasure to connect to all the learners out there. I hope that I have been able to help them, and even if one single learner gets motivated to learn the language, English language, and develops the love for it, I consider myself a success.
Of course, ma'am, you have done it. You have done in a very splendid and phenomenal way. Thanks, ma'am.
Those were some
Okay.
kind words.